What's the race to the bottom? Race to the bottom is when businesses, we talking about trucking, continuously lower their prices to stay competitive. That's what a race to the bottom is. Now, whether a person is lowering their prices to stay competitive profitably or not profitably due to ignorance, that's a whole different discussion. All right. There's people that can afford to put pressure on ignorant carriers, and they can do it and afford to do it and can do it purposely. But then there's also people that do it unknowingly due to ignorance because they don't know their operational costs and things of that nature. We see there's a lot of people like that. We do what's called a call-in show, and recently we had two scenarios. The last call-in show, it was a young guy, and then that episode, that live stream I did before that wasn't even a call-in show, where the guy, actually I released that clip this morning where the guy was like, why do I need to know what it costs me to run my business? Like, who am I telling it? Why is that important? Why do I need to know my gross? So it's not like when I be saying this shit, I'm making up. You see this stuff from your peers that are in the space. This is your competition, and this is part of the reason why things are the way they are. It's not, you can't say people are taking cheap freight without pointing out the ignorance. The reason why people don't point out the ignorance 9 times out of 10 because they don't know what their operational cost is too. So they can't articulate to someone what they're doing wrong that adds to the problem. It's just what it is. All right, so let's talk about a few of my bullet points. One, desperation. Desperation to move the truck. A lot of people are running scared. Truck notice due, insurance is due. Instead of being strategic, you decide to be reactive. We see that all the time on the call-in show. And it may not be due to the truck note or the insurance or things that are directly associated with the business. It could be things that are at home. Rent is due, car note is due, BM bugging you about something, so you go just take something so that you can get that money in, so that you can Zenmo it, Zelle it, or Venmo it, or Cash App it, or however you send money to her. They do things not strategic. They do things reactive. You see a $1.50 a mile for a load, and you say, well, they'll cover the cost of fuel. We see people come up here all the time. They only calculate fuel. Man, Mark, the guy the other day or 2 weeks ago, whenever time I did that last call-in show, well, man, his formula was the price, and he calculated, he went on Gas Buddy or something like that, saw how much it was going to cost him on average to run that load, and then subtracted that, and then he said, well, this is what I made. The guy that was running with the dispatcher. And that's far from the truth. That's the type of individual who, whatever his little nest egg is, it's just going to slowly start to dwindle away. And if you remember that young man, he was in a desperate situation. You saw the disparity. You saw it. He said it. He needed help. So when people need help and they don't know who to go to, or they don't have the capital to pay maybe a mentor or something like that, they just start doing whatever they think is best, and 9 times out of 10, that's wrong. So desperation, lack of cost awareness. Majority of these guys don't know what it costs them to run their business. I'm not just saying that, we prove it. I'm not just saying it, we prove it. We see the case studies. People get mad at me for highlighting it. I'm telling you I'm showing you what the problem is. The only person you should be mad at is yourself. If you are in the space, how can you get mad at me for highlighting the ignorance of your peers? These are your peers. I'm not competing against these guys any longer. You're competing against them. So it should be in your best interest to educate them. And when you see someone educating, how can you get mad at something that's adding to the problem? if you are a smart business owner, you should want to rid yourself of the problem. That's how I know most of the people that complain about that shit, you don't get it neither. I'm just the person that's bold enough to tell your ass. Me, if I'm a smart, shrewd business owner that's competing in that landscape on the spot market, I would want the ignorance to absolutely 100% fail. Less capacity. So how you gonna get mad at someone that's highlighting it and jaying down on an individual that don't know no better? If you want to get mad, you should get mad at me for educating them. You should want them to stay dumb. You should want them to stay dumb. So when people complain about shit like that, it's funny to me. Capacity is one of the problems. Demand is low. Too much capacity. Why are you mad at some? You should be mad at me for educating them. You should want them to fail. If you're a business owner, you want to make money. You don't want to continuously be suppressed. I don't understand it. Makes absolutely positively no sense. So if you don't know your true cost per mile, you don't know your operational cost, how can you effectively book profitable loads? You don't know what it costs you. So you're just running in the dark, you're running in the blind, you're just taking shit, really not knowing. You running loads at $1.60 thinking you profitable and your cost per mile is $2. You don't know your cost per mile is $2. You don't know how to account for your time. You don't know how to account for depreciation. You don't know how to account properly for fixed costs. The only thing you account for is fuel. When you don't know your numbers, how can you set a floor? If you don't know your numbers, how can you effectively know what to charge someone for your service? And this don't stop with trucking. This in any business you do. If you own a hotel, you need to know what it costs you to book a room. How much does it cost you an hour for the maid service? How much is it costing you to wash the linens after someone who patronizes your facility, leaves the room? The laundry service. The materials to wash, the washing powder, the soap powder. The electricity, the gas, and everything that accounts for, the hospitality industry if you own a hotel, so that you can effectively know what to charge a night for a room. If you own a restaurant, you need to know how much it costs to prepare a meal. All costs, from the bus boys to the cooks to the servers to the front end to the actual food that's being prepared. What does it cost you? Wholesale price. To the utility cost. Even on a small scale restaurant, a hot dog stand on a hamburger. How much does the dog cost per unit? How much does the bun cost per unit? How much ketchup should we squirt? How much mustard should we squirt? How many squirts can we get out of a bottle based on what the cost of the bottle of ketchup or mustard is? How many pickles should we give? How much relish should we put? How many hot peppers or sport peppers, depending on what part of the country and what you call them? What about the wrapping that you wrap the hot dog or the hamburger in? How much if you buy a case of wrapping craft paper to wrap the hot dog or the hamburger, if you get 1,000 sheets at X amount, how much is that per sheet? That unit cost should go into the cost of that hot dog or that hamburger so that you can know how much you can charge for the hot dog or the hamburger. You can't just set a price if you don't know what it costs you to produce the product. And then you wonder why you hemorrhage your money. And then you call me, and then I hold you accountable, but then people get mad. And then you ask me, well, why I need to know that for? See how ignorant that shit is? Omar, you're supposed to be teaching. I am teaching you. But some things you should know prior to starting a business. I understand certain strategies come with time, like when you want to scale and grow. But anybody that starts a business from day one, like, it should be innate that you should know what it costs you. That's not something that you come in not understanding. Like, it doesn't even make sense to me. It don't make sense to me. So I'm not gonna sit here and coddle you when business is dog eat dog and your competition ain't gonna coddle you. So why should I? For something that's very, 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 you just you should know this shit. That's not something that you should not know. Buy for $1, sell for $2. If you buy for $1 and you sell for 50 cents, you're doing something wrong. You should know that if you buy for $1, you should at least sell for $1.01. Who buy for $1 and sell for 50 cents? Who buy for $1 and sell for 75 cents? I tell you who, the person that don't know what it cost them. You come into business to make money. I mean, people tell me they came into business to help and do this. No, you didn't. You came into business to make money. Period. You don't know what it costs, you're gonna end up like the 90% at the bottom, zero. Facts. I ain't telling you nothing that a person who's transparent ain't gonna tell you. The person that don't tell you this, they ain't got your best interest. These are all the bullet points that help create this race to the bottom. We're gonna look at rates though. We're gonna get to it, and we're gonna put all this nonsense to bed once and for all. And then I ain't gonna talk about it no more. I'm gonna continue to let the people that say things like they keep taking cheap freight and all this other shit that ain't got nothing to do. Or, this one is really, man, I can't rate for rates to get back and things like that. And I'm like, well, what does back look like? Where is back? And then nobody can tell me. And or they tell me 2021. And if you say 2021, you a plumb fool. We never gonna see that again. You don't even know why rates. If you don't even know why rates were unusually high in 2021, business is probably not for you. I'm just gonna keep it a buck with you. Bullet point 3: content creators, influencers, false prophets, gurus, whatever you want to call them. I talked to a guy yesterday. He's actually in this, and I seen him in here in this chat now. He was in my Discord yesterday, and I talked. He was transparent. He's watched enough of my content that when he came into the Discord yesterday, and he called me. He said, "Look, I bought into the hype. I bought a $40,000 truck. I paid cash for it, and basically said he don't know what the hell he's doing. So now the truck just been parked for a month. He admitted, I bought into it. Don't know what to do. Then I recently found your channel, and a lot of the questions that I had answers, I wish I would have found your channel first. Because now what I'm dealing with, you've been talking about. But this is not the content that I ran across that made me go out and spend my money. If you buy into something that someone says and you don't have enough understanding that you should go behind that person and do your own research, then a guy like me don't feel bad for you. And that's with anybody. The next person, me too. Don't listen to me. The only time when you should just take a person at face value is if you've been following a person enough to know that their information is solid, where you can kind of just buy into what they're saying. You've seen enough, you followed an individual enough to understand that they know what they're talking about. But off the rip, initially, when you find someone, you shouldn't just take what a person says at face value and they haven't proven themselves credible. person has to prove themselves credible before you could just take what they're saying at face value and maybe not go behind them and do, your due diligence. And the guy I was talking to yesterday, I think he just admitted who he was. The number was so inflated that he as he said it, his bullshit to something ratio, like he's not sold on the idea of living out of a box truck, but he was sold that he could make $30,000 a month. So for $30,000 a month, he was willing to live out of a box truck. But once he bought the truck and then really started to do the research and then realized that that was really not true, not saying it can't be done, but it's not common, then the interest went away. It's unfortunate that he didn't find, valuable information initially before he went out and made the investment. But we're here now. Right. Money to bullshit ratio is what he called it. Money to bullshit ratio. You can't buy into a fantasy. A lot of these guys, when I was having these $5,000 wars, earlier this year, late last year, earlier this year. In my lifetime, I can only think of one thing by chance that you can buy into something so low and get maximum gains, and that's like gambling. You could buy $1 Mega Millions or $1 Powerball. There's a 1 in something million chance that you may hit all the numbers and win. If someone told me I could start a box truck business for less than $5,000 and I could become a multi-millionaire for something that was so minimal, the first thing that I would ask, well, if it was that simple, why isn't everybody doing it? Why is this the hidden gem that I've been looking for all my life, and how come ain't nobody else found it? How is something that costs so minimal to enter, the rewards are just so high? I would go and do my research. With the internet, back in the day, prior to, what we have now with the internet, it's like influence and shit like that. We had like, what would you call Ponzi schemes and shit like that. Person to sell you I'm not saying that this is a Ponzi scheme, but the way they perpetuate it and market it, buy low, make a lot of money, come in low, make a lot of money, to me is kind of similar. I can't think of anything outside of like the lottery or something, or some type of form of gambling where I can take a chance on something with a little bit of money and make a huge amount of money, but that's by chance. So you come in the game undercapitalized, undereducated, you come in underbidding the people who ultimately built their business the right way. But you're coming doing that stuff ignorantly. So another part of the reason, all right? Oversaturation, new entrants. Everybody got in during the pandemic. Easy credit, high freight demand. I call them TikTok tutorials, not TikTok tutorials. I call them TikTok tutorials. TikTok tutorials. Now, if you hear somebody else say that, you know where they got it from. People be taking my lingo and running off with it. It was the Wild Wild West. The pandemic was the Wild Wild West. I remember the Wild Wild West days of Final Mile. when most of the 3PLs were privately owned before the big, trucking companies started acquiring them. I remember when XPO was going on a massive acquisition run in the early to mid 2010s. They were just buying up every 3PL because they saw the vision first. And then all the other major trucking companies started buying 3PLs. Trucking companies stayed away from 3PLs and final mile for years because it was too much liability. They didn't want to take on that liability going into people's homes because the risk to reward ratio wasn't there yet because e-commerce wasn't where it is today. Once they saw the vision that XPO saw of e-commerce getting to where it is today, that's when they started acquiring all the 3PLs. But when I came in the early 2010s, it was primarily privatized. A lot of the companies that I did shit for early in those days don't even exist anymore because they were acquired. And those were the Wild Wild West days. A lot of the shit that goes on today in Final Mile didn't go on then. You didn't. If you dropped a route, you didn't get charged for it. You just didn't come or whatever. Like a lot of the shit and systems that are in play today weren't in play when the private companies owned them. Right? So you got oversaturation, you got new entrants. It was the Wild Wild West. But now the market is correcting. Capacity is high, still high. You got too much capacity, not enough freight. And the rookies, we see a lot of them, no disrespect, aren't helping the situation. They're making things worse. And you see those rookies when they call in on the call-in show. Any veteran that gets mad at me on how I coach or mentor these guys, you're crazy. You should absolutely I don't understand. You should want them to fail. If you want to make money, you should want the capacity to go down. That's why I be dropping a link, because I be itching to have a debate with someone. Because I ultimately want to make someone look crazy. Because I know what I'm talking about. So when I just don't understand, I don't get it. Shippers and brokers taking advantage, as they should. This is business. See, let's take our feelings and our emotions out the equation. You'll take advantage of somebody, your business, if you negotiate. Someone offers you a price and you negotiate it. When you negotiate with someone, you want to get paid more, which is ultimately going to decrease their profit margin. If they offer you something for $1 and you negotiate $1.50 and they okay, that's 50% less than what they were initially hoping to make. So why is it okay for you to do it and not somebody else? If you're able to manipulate the situations for you to get paid more, you're going to do it. So if someone does it to you because you're ignorant, that's your problem. That sounds personal. A person, a shipper or a broker can only take advantage of ignorance. If you got a price and you got a bottom line price and you a real shrewd business man and or woman, then you're going to stand on it by any means necessary. If you get taken advantage of, that sounds like a personal problem. I ain't never complained about what another man made. I ain't never counted another man's pockets. I don't care. I know what I need to cover my cost of business, cover my cost of living. So I know what I need to do. With the next person, that's just like me paying ComEd, but knowing ComEd making money off of everybody, but I'm complaining about it because based on what they charge me, I'm complaining about, well, y'all making billions and billions of dollars a month. Why y'all charging me $150 a month for electricity? This shit bogus as hell. I can't get mad at their business. Either I'm gonna find another electricity company, which you can't do because it's regulated, and that's the only company that provides electricity in my market, or I'm gonna fucking be sitting around here in the dark. I can't get mad at a person or a company who started somewhere and then they built this business to what it is, and I'm dependent on that business regardless. I need electricity. Whatever they gonna charge me is what I gotta pay. I don't have a choice. But in this instance where you can negotiate, or you running the business where you got a cost in the bottom line and you get offered something, or you're bidding on something and you got a floor, you can't get mad at a person because they took advantage of you. A good business person is going to prey on the weak. Why? You're going to make as much money as you can, because guess what? When the grass is green and it's sunny outside, it ain't going to be like that every day. If you want a person that was taking advantage of the good opportunities prior to 2020 for a short period of time, when there was a supply chain disruption and shit went down, now here are these cloudy days, and you can't weather the cloudy days because when the opportunity was there, you didn't take advantage of it. Key word, take advantage of it. It's business. It's not personal. If you allow someone to take advantage of you and your business, that's your problem. That's your fault. Because you don't either know what it costs you to run your business, or you don't have standards for your business. Learn how to say no. If you know what your cost is, what your bottom line cost is, say no. Go find what's profitable. It's just simple as that. What the shippers and the brokers do, you do it as well. You're looking to take advantage to make more money. Big carriers. Absolutely. Some of the biggest take advantage of us. They love taking advantage of independence. They love putting their foot on small guys' necks. They love it. Jordan 6, every independent every mega carrier got a pair of Jordan 6s on. If you don't know the Jordan 6, you know how I incorporate that, you new to the channel. Every mega carrier is putting a Jordan number 6 on an independent owner operator's neck. They can eat the losses. They can force you out. These are the people who are benefiting from this. So we got shippers, brokers, mega carriers. They all benefit from this race to the bottom, so you say. Who else benefits from the race to the bottom? Tech companies. The cheaper labor gets, the more margin they can make. To all my giggers. Long are the days when you were able to afford your cost of living as a gigger. Those days are over. If you thought that shit was going to last forever, you're crazy. Something that was built to supplement, it wasn't built for you to replace your career. If you quit your job, during the early ages of the gig economy, mid 2010s, going into the latter part of 2010s, these rates were just very, very high because you have a new startup business, right? They're putting a lot of marketing dollars into getting consumers to onboard and use the service, but they need service providers to provide the service. So if they have an influx or an infusion of consumers coming on, they have to have service providers on the platform to meet the demand. And what's the easiest and the best and the quickest way to get service providers on is to pay them handsomely. I say it all the time. But that doesn't mean that's going to stay like that forever. Where you got tricked and where you got fooled is during those early phases of that industry, the pandemic came and it kind of put it on steroids for a few years. That wasn't meant to happen. No one saw that coming. So now the rates went from high to even higher because of that increased demand, because everyone was home and people were ordering more food and groceries and things of that nature. And then once the money started to kick in, it just even went higher. And people were fooled. People who didn't know any better who were fooled. Ignorant people were fooled. So they did what wasn't in their best interest. They got into a euphoric phase of a bubble and they lost sight of reality. And they did things like quit their job and started bragging and all this shit. And now that industry has corrected itself, right? Because you got people accustomed to using the service. You have an infusion of consumers that use the service, right? Because they got them accustomed to using it. And you got these service providers that are on here that are pretty much stuck now. Why? Because they did things like go out and buy cargo vans or to run gig apps, or they quit their jobs, or they quit their jobs and bought cargo vans because they thought this was just the new wave. And then the market corrected itself, and then they blaming the gig app. The gig app's purpose is to make money. What, you thought they was going to continue to want to take losses forever? What business is going to want to continue to take losses? The difference between you and them is they have VC money. They can operate at a loss for an X amount of years. You can't. They'll just do another round of funding. But eventually they're going to get to that sweet spot. You don't know business. Every business wants to profit. How can you get bad at a business because they want to be profitable? So the gig apps are 100% enjoying this. This is great. Because now you have to accept. I was looking at some of those rates that on Rodeo once $50 for Home Depot for huge loads, $48, $49, $34 now. People taking them. They ain't got no choice. They went out and bought a Mercedes Metris, or they went out and bought a Transit Connect, and they got that note. Not only do they got that note, they quit their job because they were in this euphoric mindset because they were making great money at that time, and what the rates were paying allowed them to afford to go out and, I guess, purchase these vehicles with the idea of this is their new career path, not understanding that industry, most of those companies are still startups and they're operating at a loss. And not only that, the market, as far as the economy, is eventually going to correct itself. So the tech companies are 100% enjoying this as well. And let's keep it 100. The people who are making buku money in this industry, they're not in the truck. The people who make money ain't in the truck. I'm talking about buku money. I ain't talking about twos and fews. Yes, there's people that run profitably in their truck, but that can also be the person who has 5 trucks who's not in the truck. He's not in the truck. He's making money. Person who's really making money is not in the truck. I'm talking about real money. Don't get offensive. If you're making some money and you're driving a truck, that's what you're supposed to. That means you know how to run your business. But we talking about money. We talking about bigger margins. They're not in the truck. They're in the boardrooms. These are the people running the apps. These are the people that are making money off your hustle. We can even go down to a lower level. Brokers. A lot of brokers are working from the crib now due to the pandemic. Not every broker is going to C.H. Robinson or TQL. Man, a lot of them don't have to go into the office. You got some that's doing it from the crib. You got some good dispatchers out here that are connecting dots for you, that are making more than you if they got a nice clientele. Why? Because they don't have the costs that are associated that you have with running the actual vehicle. See, this is what you don't understand. What's keeping it going? You can say camaraderie, but I'm going to be honest with you. In my 45 years, I don't see camaraderie being a thing any longer in the near future, if anything. I've seen just as a people be community based, do like this. The tougher living becomes, the higher the cost of living, the tougher things become, the less camaraderie. Y'all want to have a real conversation? Y'all want to still be in la la land? I'm gonna always have a real conversation and keep it a buck with you. The more things become tougher in life, the less camaraderie is going to be. I've seen it outside. I just seen it in regular life. The harder things are, the more that drool going to come out. The more the fangs going to come out. The more people are going to be less community based, community driven, and want to stick together. Moving as one is a thing of the past. You have to keep this in mind. So even when you say things like, oh man, they taking cheap freight, this, that, and the third, that's like a waste of energy and waste of breath. You got to do what's in the best interest of you, because those days are long behind you. Especially when you see people come up here that don't understand what it costs them to run a business, and they ask you, why do they need to know that? Like, that shit is so bad. You'll think like these are paid actors. These are real people that you see in their trucks and their vans. These ain't paid actors. These are real people. So when you see someone say, why do I need to know that? Because who am I telling? What I need to know what I'm making? What's the purpose of it? Instead of laughing, you should be frightened. You think that person is going to stand with you? No. You think that person going to kumbaya? All right, we going to hold the line. Fuck it. We going to strike. We ain't going to take nothing. Lord knows I need this money because, man, little man back at the crib, he needs some Similac, some shit like that, whatever. But, man, I got to be unified. Bro, ain't nobody trying to hear that. They already running at a loss anyway because they don't know what it costs them to run their business. They already running at a loss, not understanding. So what makes you think that a person running at a loss is going to, you see it. No foundation. That shit been gone too. I compare that to real life. We don't have no foundation. We ain't got no structure. Nowhere. In trucking, in business, the streets, no more structure, no more foundation. You run a trucking business. We see a lot of people run a trucking business like a side hustle. We are in the side hustle culture. Box trucking is treated like a side hustle. Look, like all your evidence of everything I'm saying is the participants you see that call up on the call-in show. It's ran like a side hustle. No SOPs, no planning, no reserve capital. Asking me, well, why I need working capital for it. To ask me why you need working capital and to ask me why you need to know what it costs you to run your business, that shit is crazy to me. No minimum rate thresholds, even for final mile. I talked to a guy the other day in my Discord. He's not making enough money. But you accept this stuff initially, and then when you get in the thick of things, you realize that you accepted something that wasn't really worth your while. Because you don't understand how to run your business. You run it like a hustle, and then you get hustled. You can't run a business like a hustle because it's not a hustle, it's a business. If you're running your business like a hustle, a person who understands business is going to hustle you. Because business ain't a hustle, it's business. And the person that you have to deal with that understands business, whether it be the broker, the shipper, the 3PL operations supervisor, the dispatcher. We saw a guy come up here getting hustled by the dispatcher. In relation. They're going to hustle you. They're going to take advantage of your ignorance. Rightfully so. It's your job to know what it costs you to run your business. If someone hustle you, then if you go, I always use you go on the strip in Vegas and they playing 3-card Molly, they only getting suckers. You a sucker. If you ever play 3-card Molly with some guy that's on the street and you walk up, you see the black guy and then you see the little black guy, then the white lady step up and she's winning and then she's winning and then they just giving her money and then you watching and then, man, this shit look easy, man. They giving away money. Then you step up, he's smiling while he giving her the money and then you step, man, come on, want to play. Then you think it's sweet. First, you a middle American. You can't be from the crib. You did what I'm saying. And you give him your money. Then his face turned from a smile to stone cold. And he let you win that first one. He tell you to go ahead and put the 100 up. We giving away money today. His face turned stone cold and then he take your shit. Now you trying to get your shit back. Ooh, his face serious too. That white lady that was winning, she done disappeared. She gone. You look around, where the little white lady go? It was all a setup. They hustled your goof eye. You was a sucker. You fell for it. You think somebody just randomly on the street, on this strip in Las Vegas, just giving money away. Greened in a month. And it's hustles everywhere. People gonna always prey on weak people in business, in regular life. You're gonna get hustled. Short-term thinking. We see this all the time. Thinking day to day. A business owner don't think day to day. They think long term. We see people that choose that quick cash flow or that quick liquidity and not profit. We see people that chase gross and not net. And because of that, you never build a successful business. You just constantly spinning your wheels. Day in and day out. Ego and pressure. Social media. You got to show it off, baby. You got to put hashtag boss shit or boss B or whatever these hashtags are. So you try to stay in as long as possible the whole time you bleeding out. So you want to flex. You underbid just to look like you still moving. But whole time you behind closed doors, you bleeding out.